Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing good. Today I want to show you how I made this track. So the whole track has been done inside Reason 12, and as much as I love hardware, I feel sometimes too lazy to turn it all on and just mess with it. So I really prefer sometimes the convenience of computers. The only thing I don't like making music with software is the actual sound. I mean, it just kind of sounds differently, and no matter how much I try to sound, more lo-fi, it still sounds too modern to me. But I guess we just have to live with that in the digital age. So I want to start with breaks. So these are three different channels with different variations of the same break, and I'm pretty sure this is the break taken from Fodek's Modus Operandi album. I didn't personally sample it from Fodek, but I found it in a folder full of breaks that I got back in early 2000. I'm pretty sure there was just a bunch of breaks taken from other records. This time, to program my breaks, I'm using audio instead of using MIDI. Let's have a look at how I process the break. Because I felt it was a bit too digital, too crispy. So I added this Decimor 2 plugin to give it a bit of a sound of older samplers. I'm also using EQ. I cut the low frequencies and I really cut the high frequencies because I felt it was a bit too harsh originally. Then I have this Magma Sonic rack extension filter to control the envelopes. And at the end of the chain I have gentle reverb, and we can listen to the break when it's just clean without any processing. So yeah, it adds a bit of a lo-fi vibe to the whole groove, which I personally like. And now let's have a listen to the other break. Right, so in terms of processing, it doesn't have much going on as well, just the same Decimor 2 with the same settings to give it a bit of a more gritty sound. Then I've got EQ, pretty gentle EQ here and there, and a small amount of reverb as well, because I love putting reverb on my breaks. So we can listen how it sounded before and after. So before. It adds a bit of a color, definitely. So I've got an 808 bass and I'm using Mimic to trigger the notes. In terms of processing, again, Decimor 2 and a bit of EQ. This is how I EQ my bass. I also have Mimic running a few other samples, such as pads. And the way I make my own pads is just I use all kinds of VSTs and I just play a bunch of different chords. Then I sample them and reuse them as samples inside the sampler. So I don't process my pads separately. I just group them all into one group, which I call pads. And the only processing I really give it is just this kind of EQ and fair amount of reverb, because I love reverb, and I find Valhalla Supermassive is really great sounding reverb. Reminds me a little bit of the sound of my Les's Quadroverb. For percussion, I'm using Roland GV1080 Roland Cloud, and I love how it sounds as well. Yeah, and lots of reverb. This is the EQ that I'm using on Roland GV, and reverb. I normally don't use anything on a master bus, but this time I just wanted to degrade the sound a little bit more because I found it still being too clinical, too digital. So On my master chain, I put this Satan plugin, which I really love. It's a tape simulation, and I put a bit of a hiss because I love having a little bit of hiss in the background, because when I make music with hardware, there's always some sort of like noise. So I love that noise. I don't like super clinical sterile sound. After that, I've got this plugin, which is a rack extension, and I'm only using this warm master preset, and I adjust it a little bit to taste, but I really like what it does to the sound. Then I've got the EQ, just cutting out the most low frequencies, and I've got a master compression. I normally wouldn't use any compressor, but I feel like this track needed a little bit more glue, so a gentle compression works fine on this track. And just to give you a little section how it sounds without the master bus and with it, so without it. So yeah, anyway, I hope you're gonna like this track, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and have a good day.